Earlier this week, we received assurances from the Taliban that while they still would be ruling based on the dictates of Sharia law, women did not have anything to fear. They would be protected in some way, or the Taliban has changed in some form. It was vague, and perhaps with good reason, because so far the early indications are that not much has changed. It took just a few days for instance, them to ban women anchors from state television. So we found out that as of just a couple of days ago, the Taliban has indefinitely suspended women employees, including Khadija Amin, a prominent anchor woman on state television. Tweets going out from inside of there saying that she has been banned, other women banned from returning to work. This is one of the fears that were expressed in the early days after the fall of the regime. You can see the replacement there of Khadija Amin with a member of the Taliban taking over her seat. She put out a statement, by the way, saying, "I am a journalist and I am not allowed to work. What will I do next? The next generation will have nothing. Everything we have achieved for 20 years will be gone. The Taliban is the Taliban. They have not changed." And so, Brett, I don't think that we've talked about this over the past week, but I'm not very surprised. What do you think?
This idea of like a brand new Taliban is hilarious. I mean, it's not hilarious, but just like it is ridiculous. It's like Vincent D'Onofrio's character in Men in Black, where he's like, "I'm Edgar," but inside he's like a giant bug and he's trying to convince people that he's just a person. But every so often he's like, just reaches out and eats someone alive. Like that is what the Taliban's trying to pull off right now. And they could do it if they don't do stuff like this. Like the idea that a group that took over an entire country in 11 days, that the only imagery we have of it is brutal executions and motorcades of guys with AK-47s that they've now replaced with AR-15s because they have all our weapons now. The idea that they're like, "Hey, we're just friendly, we're just a friendly group of guys here." Like it's crazy. And this is proof of it. And these are the little bits of information that we gather based on what they put forward. And with any regime at all, but it's pretty explicitly pronounced in regimes kind of like this. Like they will pick and choose what they show the world. What they give access to. Like when you think about Cuba, you think about North Korea, you think of everybody who comes back and is like, "It was pretty great here." You've got some pretty explicit sorry, something very loud sound just happened outside. But when you think of those, when you think about those regimes, you think about like very curated tours that they give people of what is allowed to reach the outside world. And the face that they're putting toward the outside world, as opposed to North Korea, where it's someone just like sitting in front of a news desk being like, "Everything's fine, everything's fine." In this situation, it's like, we are replacing the news desk with this guy here.
Yeah, 100%. Not surprised. We'll see. Maybe, I mean, it has been more than 20 years. Maybe there will be some small change, but so far, they're not even waiting, like giving it a little buffer so that the media stops paying as much attention. They're jumping right back into it. Like we've got some notes here based on what it was like in Afghanistan from 1996 to 2001. Under the Taliban then, women had to cover themselves and leave the house only in the company of a male family member. The Taliban also prevented girls from going to school and women from working outside the home. They were also prevented from voting. Nobody's surprised by that. So assuming they go back to that, they will be now, thanks to 20 years passing, slightly more repressive than Saudi Arabia, which our country is perfectly fine with. So I can imagine the amount of pressure to get better that they'll face with the Taliban. But yeah, people are putting in the chat like, why are they so afraid of women? I don't know. Afghanistan will be obviously objectively weaker because of every single one of these moves, which are, let's just remember again, in terms of casting stones, obviously stronger, more codified versions of the same sorts of fears of female progress that most of the world still has, that we certainly have here. I mean, the most watched faces in cable news were demonizing female soldiers earlier this year, or trans female athletes and things like that. Obviously, this is worse, but the idea that men feel that their position is inherently at risk of women taking it away, that's basically a constant across our species.
And just like
really fast last point,
how demoralizing it must be for people who used to turn on the news and see the news, and now they look outside their window and in the street they know that it's terrible, but like then it creeps in through the television, which, hey, for many people can be an escape, and there is no escape. It's actually just more oppressive and more invasive because it comes from a place where you were expecting to, get away from it for a second.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.